Here's an interview from one of our past shows on Rock and Metal Revival. If you're interested in hearing full shows, go to our Facebook page and check out our list of affiliates for times and places where you can hear Rock and Metal Revival. From the upcoming Holy Diver Super Deluxe Edition, there is the Joe Barresi new mix of Holy Diver on Rock and Metal Revival, and
Nice.
that'll be released on July 8th, 2 days before Ronnie James Dio's 80th birthday, my man.
Wow.
And with us to talk about it today, we want to welcome back to Rock and Metal Revival, Wendy-Dio. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It is so great to have you on the show, Wendy. Now, Ronnie left us with such a great legacy of music for us fans. What was it about Holy Diver that stood the test of time, and what can fans look forward to in this new deluxe edition?
Well, there's lots of exciting things on there. I mean, the new mix of Joe Barresi, I think, is amazing. He brings it, it's right in your face. It's really, he put a modern touch on it, which I think Ronnie would have really loved. And obviously Joe Barresi is very well known as for doing Tool and Rage Against the Machine and so on. And he's a modern, so I'm very excited to hear a different touch to it. And we also have on there, we have some vinyl that he did. We have some outtakes that he found into the vault, which have never been heard before, and he thought that the fans would love to hear the outtakes of how they're making the record. There's also a live recording from Fresno in 1983 on the Holy Diver tour, which was mixed by Win Davis, a long-time engineer of Ronnie's. And there's obviously the the original Holy Diver record as well. So lots of different things, lots of exciting little bits that we found that we wanted to put on there. And I'm really, really excited about it. The record label is excited. Rhino is doing an amazing job, so I'm really, really happy.
So what's the difference between the remastering and remixing? I mean, is it totally... I mean, remastering... That's just like boosting the volume and stuff, pretty much, isn't it?
Well, it's bringing a different with different technology nowadays. He used the original analog tapes, and just did his work on it, which I think brings it to up to modern standards of music.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Hey, Wendy, can you take us back to 1983 when Ronnie was ending his time with Sabbath? Now, Ronnie had such a success with Rainbow and Sabbath. Was he looking to front another band at that time, or did he already have it set in his mind he wanted to go solo and knew who he wanted to play with?
No. At that time, he, well, it's unfortunate that he passed time with Sabbath. That wasn't meant to be. In fact, he had written Holy Diver musically and lyrically. He'd written the whole song, Holy Diver and Don't Talk to Strangers, which were supposed to be on the next Sabbath album. No, things went down in Sabbath. He wasn't happy, so he left. Didn't quite know what he was going to do. I didn't have a plan, but we had a solo deal with Warner Brothers that he had gotten during Sabbath. So he just decided, and Vinny left with him. So he already had the drummer. And so he called Jimmy Bain, who he had played with in Rainbow before, to see if he could help him find some musicians. And Jimmy said, well, what about me? So Jimmy was, of course, in. And they went off to England to find a guitar player. And they found Vivian Campbell, a young kid. And that was the band. And they started the band. And, you know, I mean, a lot of things to go out on there. We had money. We didn't have that much money. I mean, we mortgaged our house to go out and be able to afford the buses and trucks and hotels and everything else that goes along with having a band. And we didn't know how successful the record was going to be, obviously. I mean, Ronnie just wrote it and performed on it, and it was like suddenly, whoa. And in fact, there's in this this box set, there is a live recording from Sound Arena in Fresno that was done in 1983. And it was like, I remember that show, and I remember seeing the fans like going crazy, and I was like, whoa, and I got goosebumps thinking, whoa, it is happening.
So did they record a lot of live shows, or just, I mean, because obviously the Fresno show sticks out for you because you were there and you saw the crowd and everything, But did he record a lot of live shows, or is
We
just
have
certain
a few.
places?
Not a lot. We recorded a few shows, like usually like Westwood One or BBC would come in and say they wanted to record the show. And then I always said, well, if you're going to record the show, I'm going to have a master to be able to use it later on if I want to. So that's how that went about.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Wendy.
So I probably recorded for a radio show.
Okay. Now, what do you remember, Wendy, about this time in Ronnie's career when he was going in to do this solo record? I mean, this is such a classic album. What was going on at the time in the whole Dio camp?
Well, he was very excited. Had a new band, new players. Everyone obviously is always excited on the first time. They all, wanting something to happen, playing well, getting along very well together, and excitement of not knowing what's going to happen, but hoping that it's going to be a good album, but never knowing if it is. I mean, musicians are so close to their work. They think it's good, but they really don't know until the fans are the ones who decide whether they like it or not. But it was it was a fun time. It was making the album cover was a fun time thing to do. Ronnie wanted something that the record company didn't want because they kept saying, well, that's shocking. They're drowning a priest, a monster drowning a priest. And Ronnie said, well, how do you know it's a monster drowning a priest? Just because the priest has priest clothing on, I didn't know that he's not the bad guy and the monster's a good guy. You can't judge a book by a cover. So that's how we got away with doing the album cover.
Nice. No, I see on that for the show Stranger Things on Netflix that you donated some like patches, Dio patches, and some merch and stuff for their show. Had you seen that show before? Or?
Oh yes, I've seen the show before. They asked me about 2.5 years ago before the pandemic. Because they're not, you can't use a Dio logo or a Dio thing without a license, and they had contacted me to get a license for it, and I said, well, did you want some original merchandise? Because I have some. They, oh, yes, absolutely. So I sent them a bunch of original old vintage shirts from the 80s, and they were very, very happy about it, and I am so excited to see that Eddie, the main character, is wearing the vest. And I know that Ronnie would love that. I can see him smiling down right now. That would be he would be so happy about that because, this is a younger generation getting to know about him, listen to his music. This is really something that, we've all strived for to keep Ronnie's music and his legend alive. And I am so happy that this young kids seem to be wanting to listen to the music and know about Ronnie.
Yeah. Definitely.
When Wendy, when this album was released, it was at the beginning, becoming the beginning of hair metal. And was there any apprehension from the label about the release of the Dio record going with the current trend?
Oh, of course. We didn't do anything. We did nothing. We did everything in the beginning. The record company only jumped on when they were seeing success. To them, it was just at that time. Now it's changed because now I have some amazing people at Rhino. Amazing people. Rob Gross is amazing. Mike Pincus, Jason Elsie. All these people are just fantastic people there that are passionate about Dio. Whereas at that time, it wasn't really, just a solo record, heavy metal. There's nasty, dirty people, let's just put it out. And they really didn't do anything. We worked our butts off for that. I had a guy that I hired that used to go 2 weeks ahead of the tour to the radio station and the record store and give the radio station tickets and put posters up in the windows. I mean, this was all before, you didn't have the internet then, or you have to do everything yourself. And, we worked really, really hard for that record.
I bet. I remember getting that. I bought the cassette because I was driving a truck that had a cassette player, and I couldn't wait to get home with vinyl. I wasn't waiting that long. I wanted to hear it right away. And I can't believe I didn't get a speeding ticket right off the bat with stand up and shout right at the beginning. I mean, come on, how can you not want to drive as fast as your car would go?
Exactly.
When that comes on, man. But,
absolutely. It was a really exciting time, and I remember that Salon Arena show very, very well because, the fans were just going crazy and just loving it so much. I had goosebumps. I was like, wow, we actually did it. We did it. All the hard work paid off. We did it.
Yeah.
And it was a very exciting time. I'm still excited about Ronnie's music. You know, my whole thing in life is to keep his music and his legends alive, and I'm so happy that young kids seem to be embracing him.
You know, Wendy, over the years, we've had many members of Ronnie's band on the show. We've had Craig Goldie, Doug Aldridge, Viv, Rudy. We've also had Vinny Appice, Simon Phillips, Rowan Robertson, and every one of them have talked about how much Ronnie loved his fans, and I actually got to experience that firsthand myself. Can you tell us about Ronnie's love and appreciation for his fans?
Well, he always said, you know, Ronnie came from a small uptown state in New York. You know, his grandma and his grandpa worked in a steel mill. He came from very humble beginnings, and you know, he worked really hard to get out there, and he worked a long time before he got recognition. And when he did, he just appreciated those fans so much, and always said, you know, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to do the things I can do. And he loved people. He absolutely loved people. He would spend hours talking to kids. The kids lined up there waiting for an autograph. I'm not going to walk away. I'm going to stay here until everyone is signed, because I love people, and I am so grateful that they're here, because I wouldn't be able to be here if they weren't here. And he truly loved people. He loved people. He loved everyone. He was such a different person. He listened to everything. He wasn't a person that wanted to talk about himself. He wanted to listen. What about you? What about you? What's this going? How's your life going?
Exactly.
And he was generally interested in people.
That's awesome. Now I read the book that came out after we had talked to you the first time, The Rainbow in the Dark. And I was surprised to find out about that car accident, that he lost a band member who was a good friend, and he had such a horrible, you know, his scalp tore up and everything, and man, and then to go out and still keep doing it, man, I gotta hand it, because man, that could have ended anybody. I don't know that I would have wanted to go out and do that anymore after something like that.
Yeah, it was traumatic. I wasn't there at that time, but I mean, I met Ronnie in '73. That was before that happened. But I know that he had 118 stitches in his head from that. And but you know what? He wasn't a quitter. Ronnie was not a quitter. He always picked himself up and go again. I mean, all the times that, you know, the record, like, you know, metal came in and out of fashion, and then, you know, in '90s, the grunge came in, and the record labels dropped Van Halen, they dropped Dio, they dropped everybody, and we had to lug around and try and find a label. I mean, all those things that happened, but it never got him down. He just carried on. He didn't care if he played in front of 80 people or 80 million people. He was the same. He would give his all no matter what, you know, and that was something, you know, that he always did. And actually, you know, we have the documentary coming out, hopefully in the fall. We're waiting for a buyer right now, and that shows the story of the accident that he had there.
Yeah, that was actually my next question was about the documentary. When that comes out, is it going to be a streaming film, or is that going to be able to be purchased, DVD? Do you have any idea on that?
Hopefully all of the above. Right now, we took it to, it went to South by Southwest in Austin at the film festival. It showed there. It showed at the Toronto Film Festival, the Boston Film Festival, and it just came back from Cannes. We're waiting for a buyer. BMG financed it, and it was done by 914 Films, which Don and Demian, amazing directors. I'm so happy with the documentary. But we're waiting for a buyer. We're waiting for, you know, like a Netflix or a Showtime or somebody to come up and buy it, and then it goes out for the rest of them. Because the only people that have seen it have been like film buyers at the festivals. Oh. So we're waiting. I think we have a few offers in. We don't. I should know, but in the next 2 weeks about what's going on with it.
Okay. Now,
but I'm hoping it's going to be in theaters. I'm hoping it's going to be on a Showtime or a Netflix, and also on DVD and Blu-ray.
Cool. Now, will there be a remastered and remixed version of the next album, Last in Line, coming out eventually? I mean, this one hasn't even come out.
I think Warner Brothers Rhino has plans for that. I think they do, but not for. I don't think it's next year or the year after. Okay. You know, I think they do have plans for that, but obviously, I have some other people in mind for things, and we have a lot of stuff in the vault. A lot. I didn't realize how much stuff we had there until we had to go in and look through everything for these releases, and there's so much stuff in there.
Wow, that's good to hear.
I mean, at Job Reach, he found those outtakes, and he said, "What about this?" And I said, "Well, you think the fans want to hear that?" He goes, "Of course they do. They want to know how it was made, and they want to hear all these outtakes."
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Now, I heard there's going to be a sequel to the movie Spinal Tap coming out. Do you think, do you have any Ronnie Spinal Tap moment that could go in the new movie?
So many Spinal Tap movies. You know how many times we've been at a venue and we're trying to find a stage from the dressing room. I mean, that happens, I think, to all bands all the time. But there's all so many things that happen on the road, especially when in Rainbow Days. Cozy Powell was the biggest prankster going. There's so many different things that go on. And the Saw movie that comes out on the 18th of July, that's got Ronnie's music, Rainbow in the Dark, playing in the credits.
Oh.
So I just found that out. I'm very pleased to hear that.
Outstanding.
Sweet.
Well, the Dio Holy Diver Super Deluxe Edition will be released on July 8th. And Wendy, we always let the guest pick the song out of the interview. What song from Ronnie's catalog would you like us to play going out of the interview today?
Don't Talk to Strangers.
Outstanding.
Nice.
Wendy-Dio, you are always welcome here at Rock and Metal Revival.
Thank you always for supporting. Couldn't do it without you guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank all the fans.